We're out at Toulon Golf right now with Sean Toulon, master creator, and you have an awesome story within the golf industry itself. So
Thanks.
I thought it would be cool to give people a look at your studio, your putters, which we know are special. A lot of craftsmanship, a lot of time and effort goes into these. So I thought it'd be cool to give people a look at how you put one of these together.
Great.
And then maybe have a conversation about you as well.
That's awesome.
So this is an actual
By the way,
order.
That's an awesome shirt.
I appreciate
Love
that.
the
I
shirt.
put this on just for you.
I like it.
I was hoping you'd like it.
I love it.
So this is going to be an actual order from a customer that we're going to put together. Tell us about what the putter is, and then what we're going to do.
Well, this is a really special one, so we haven't dropped it yet. This is for one of our really, really great customers. It's going to drop next week, so he knew about it and he wanted it in time for Christmas, so we said, you got it.
One of the great aspects about you, though, is in this company is the customer can do that.
Yeah.
There's such a personal aspect and a family aspect to the customer relationship.
It's really important. We don't make thousands of anything. You know, we make tens or hundreds of things, right? And we concentrate really, Tom, on doing two things. Make the very best product we can possibly make, and then we get really close to our customers. They're obviously very important to us, but we really like the one-on-one that we can get with them, and it's really what makes our business fun.
Yeah, awesome. So this one's special.
Yeah, this is. So this is a Las Vegas, which was one of our most popular designs. It's what Xander won 2 major championships in 2023 with, right? PGA Championship and the Open Championship. We've totally redesigned it. Okay. So this is called Carbon Proto. So they have Las Vegas Carbon Proto. We're not going to do very many of these. They'll be sold out, within the first probably 10 days, right? Yeah. So changed the shape a lot, kind of softened everything, just really concentrated on if we could come up with ways to move the sound and the feel into a zone that we thought would be a little bit more pleasing. Mm-hmm. These winged designs, it's really difficult to get that right. Yeah. Because the wings actually, when you make contact with a golf ball, when you see it, they actually oscillate. And it creates a frequency, right? So it's like a tuning fork. Yeah. And if you get that wrong, believe me, when you hit a putt, you know you got it wrong. Yeah. This is amazing. So lots of work went into getting that right. And then Carbon Proto 1025 carbon steel, which is amazing. Yeah. It has say the feel has got a really honest, old school milled click to it, but it's so rewarding. Anyways, it's a very, very cool putter.
Yeah, and it looks awesome too.
Thank you.
Right?
Thanks. Yeah.
Especially with putting, right? Sound is feel, look is feel.
It's all important. So these are really sort of visceral objects for us, right? Yeah. And we want to make sure that we get the sound right, the feel right, and when you look at it, if there was an emotion we're trying to create, it would be, for a golfer, it would be lust. When you look at it, you just go,
I need it.
I got to have this, right? It's because in the end, you can putt with a lot of different putters, right? Yeah. But if we do our job right, it becomes something where a golfer just says, I have to have that, right? And that's what we're after.
Yeah. All right, let's get started here. And
okay.
We'll just kind of talk as you go.
Yeah, so this is a pretty cool order, too, on top of it. So this guy would like it a little longer and in something we called heavy spec. So we get the head weights now up to around 380 or 385. Typically, we have 2 10-gram weights in the bottom. These are 20s. So that'll take this head weight up a little north of 380. And when we design the weights, you can see most of them have a drive right in the middle, which I think is just, our design philosophy is less is always more, right? So when we look to design things, we don't look to where could we add more stuff? Sure. It's like, where is that needed? Is that necessary? So great design, we think, happens not when there's more stuff to add, but when there's nothing left really to take away. Sure. Right? So the way this works is you can't see a drive, but you see the little tooth on the tool, that goes in, and then the drive is in the tool. So that goes in like this.
We were talking beforehand too, Sean, about, you mentioned design and inspiration. Where does a lot of your inspiration come from?
Automotive, which I love you guys from Detroit because I think it's really cool. But my dad was in the car business his whole life, was a wonderful amateur race car driver, mostly Porsches back in the day, but that's where it really came from.
Okay.
And I just have become I have great interest in study in design itself,
Yeah.
And industrial design, and the best industrial designers in my mind come from automotive. So it's been kind of a fun journey for us.
So you grew up, your dad was in the automotive industry. How did you get involved with golf?
Just as a kid, at age 12, I thought I was going to be a baseball player. I was a wonderful second baseman, and the first guy that threw a curveball turned me into a golfer.
Yeah. Those are harder to see.
Much harder for me, they were.
Yeah.
So I love sport, and I'd love to compete. And golf was really kind of cool for me because golfers were, I'm 5'8", right?
Yeah.
No, actually 5'7" and 3/4, I round up.
We're not measuring.
But golfers could be small. Now that's changing, right?
Sure, yeah.
But back then, you didn't have to be a big guy, and Lanny Watkins was my guy, and I liked him because he swung fast,
Yeah.
and he had an attitude. He was very competitive, and he was about my size, right? So I could see myself in him, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, loved that. Got decent at it. But along that journey, I just started to learn more and more about equipment. And later, when I finished school, I went to Wisconsin. I got a chance to work for this tiny, tiny, tiny little golf club company from McHenry, Illinois. They forgot to tell me when they hired me that they were like 10 minutes from going bankrupt.
Oh, jeez.
But when I joined TaylorMade, it was a $10 million company. It was tiny. Nobody knew about metalwoods. They were woodwoods, right?
Right.
But I was a sales rep in Wisconsin, Minnesota, North and South Dakota, and that started my journey in golf.
That's awesome.
Yeah, fun. Okay,
Yeah,
so
let's move on.
we got this baby ready to go.
Okay.
So we're going to build this. So it's called heavy spec. So this is 38 inches long with a longer, heavier grip. So this grip will weigh about 125 grams. Normal grip weighs about 70, 75. So this will have some counterbalance to it. Okay. But this is sort of that longer, choke it down a little bit. Ricky Fowler, Keegan Bradley, a whole bunch, Wyndham Clark, all those guys. That kind of spec.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we're going to take it over here,
I'll hold
and
your-
I'm going to
hold
try
your
not to
feet.
drop this head.
I can
that would
hold
be
it for you,
bad.
too, if
Oh,
that's
it's
easier.
okay. I'll set it down carefully over here. So we're going to get the shaft tip prepped first. So we have to. This got a black shaft in it, which will look really cool with this build.
Yeah.
We have to remove some of the PVD from the tip, and then you make sure that we've done that properly, which looks awesome.
You've done this once or twice.
Have done this before, and then we're going to take it right here and we're going to measure it.
As you're doing that too, you can keep going, but you mentioned TaylorMade, and
Yeah.
that's part of your journey as well. I mean, I don't know that a lot of people really realize that you've had your hand in everything. We said Toulon Golf because it's not just putters, right?
Right. So it was really cool. After I had my stint as a sales rep, so I'm going to mark this at about 37 3/4.
Okay.
Because that grip will add the last quarter to the length.
Okay.
So that'll be in its playing position. It'll be at 38. So hold on just a second. We'll do a quick little cut here. Heads up there. So I really got to learn about equipment when I was at TaylorMade, and then a smaller company that when I left TaylorMade at first was Langer Golf, which was a spin-off of TaylorMade.
Oh, okay.
And I left along with Mark King and another guy, so we were sort of the top 3 salesmen all the time, and we went to work for a company called Langert Golf. Eddie Langert was like employee number 2, wonderful player from Green Bay, actually.
Okay.
He moved
Maybe
his
tugged at your heart too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. And Mark is from Green Bay, and so, anyways, we went together there, helped Eddie build a pretty cool company, and that's why I really learned how to get involved in design and development and working with suppliers and casting houses back then, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the shaft now is ready, and now we're going to come on over here and we're going to glue it. It's a little chilly back here in the shop this morning. In California, but we're going to now just put a little glue on here.
When you say that's really where you first learned about design, too, what were you really involved in?
Well, at Langert, started to work on drivers and irons and putters and everything, right? And started to. Eddie was really good at it, and was really very helpful. He was interested in mentoring.
Okay.
So that was really cool. So I learned a lot from Eddie, and then the guy that was really I would say my hero in all of golf was a guy named Gary Adams, and Gary is the founder of TaylorMade, and he just took a liking for some reason to me, and I tried to learn everything I could from him, and Eddie was much the same way, but
What's one thing you took away from Gary Adams?
that if you committed yourself 100%, you could do anything. And he just believed he just believed that people had more in them, that they were capable of doing more. And I had such a love and excitement about golf and golf equipment he saw, and selling it, and working with golfers, and so that was everything. And but he just, when you left a meeting with Gary Adams and Mark King for this, who has become my closest friend, you just knew that if you wanted it bad enough, you could do it. If you had any degree of talent, right?
Sure.
And I had some, so that was cool. And then from there, it was just follow what you loved, right?
Yeah.
And because, and Steve Jobs has said this, the amount of time, energy, and effort that you have to put into something to start it from scratch, and John and Preston and Tony and the gang here are doing the same things. A sane person wouldn't do it, right? I mean, I didn't retire to work 100 hours a week, but that's what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
And so is everybody else. But we think we can build something that's really unique and different and special to a golfer. No idea how big it gets. I don't really care.
Yeah.
We just want to do things that golfers will look at it and say, you know what, these guys really know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah. Well, and your experience shows, and it shows in the putters too.
Well, thank you. Okay, I got to stop talking.
Yeah, I don't want the glue to dry.
The glue
here.
is going to set. So, okay, this is pretty simple stuff, right? So we're just going to get some glue on the tip, and then we're going to get some starting to set just a little, which is great. And then we're going to get a little bit inside the hosel, and then this is, get it in here. Get it.
And you mixed sand in there to help make it a little gritty.
Yeah, just a little bit of abrasive in there.
Yeah.
Which just helps to secure the bond.
Okay.
And then it's just like having a third hand there, which is great. And then this is just a cleaner to.
So when you were at these other companies,
Yep.
How do you go from being in sales to design and actually getting your hands on clubs?
Just sort of, I always just was fascinated with the way things looked, right?
Okay.
And I got that from my dad. So when I started to work at Langert, I got more involved in that, and you could try some things, right? Hey, what if we painted a shaft this way, or what if we did, whatever, right?
Sure.
Later on, that became
because it was a smaller company.
it was like this, right?
Yeah.
But then later on, those ideas, when you had a bigger stage, it's like working with Mark King at TaylorMade. Okay, all the drivers have always been black. What if we did one that was white?
Yeah.
What would happen?
Yeah.
Turned out to be a pretty good idea, right?
Yeah.
So just the ideas of trying something new and different that would be fun and interesting and cool and could kind of change the landscape of golf, right?
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're going to set this down. It's going to take about 10 minutes to really set, and then we'll put an oversized grip on there and get it to loft and lie and get it ready to clean up, and out it goes.
All right, we're going to, little TV magic. We're going to let
Yeah.
that set and
Great.
we'll come back, and once it's set, we'll get back at it.
That's awesome. Okay, cool.
All right, so epoxy is all set.
Yeah?
We're going to grip it now.
Yep.
Okay, let's see
The
it.
trick here is to get it on straight. And these longer grips are a little tricky.
I've tried a longer grip, and
Yeah.
I failed miserably. So
Really?
Even this part of it is hard.
Yeah.
So we were talking about your experience and everything that you've been involved with. Like I said, I don't know that everybody really knows what you've been involved with. What's one of your favorite pieces or clubs or whatever that you were involved with?
Well, to me, there were two at TaylorMade that were three. Sorry, that I think were really significant.
Yeah.
When I went back to TaylorMade, it was the first day of 2000. So it was January 2nd or 3rd, right? And my mentor, I told you earlier, was Gary Adams. So my first day at work was the day after Gary died, which was amazing, right?
Yeah.
Of cancer. So, sorry, but I got to get this on here.
Yep.
So the company was doing fine, but had sort of lost its way in product, which is why Mark King brought me in, right? And it lost its way. This is how you know it did. We had 27, this is TaylorMade, 27 players under contract to use our driver on the PGA Tour. And our average count on the Darrell survey, so what guys were actually playing, was 7, which means 20 guys were sneaking around using something else because our driver wasn't very good, right? So that was a problem. Anyways, the first product that I developed there, I wrote the plan for it on, I remember to the day, January 11th. And it was, at the time, there were 3 drivers in the marketplace that were doing great. One was the Ping, Thai SI, which was a great driver. The Callaway driver at the time, I can't remember what it was called, but it was kind of a mid-launch, mid-spin. It was a club that like Jim Furyk and Ernie Els would love. And then the Titleist driver at the time was a good one, 975D. And you know, back then we didn't really have launch monitors or, you know, it didn't have, you know, you'd look at, oh my God, look at that, it's good or it's bad or whatever, right? But when you really dug deep into it, there were 3 buckets of players. One that needed high launch, like no spin, mid launch, mid spin, that was the Callaway driver. And then the Ping driver was just a bomber, right? That if, you know, you didn't care, you just were after max distance. That was high launch, very low spin. The Titleist driver was low launch, low spin. So there were 3 buckets. And if you looked into the marketplace, they were also the 3 best selling. So at the time, everybody knew TaylorMade would have a new driver, right? We certainly needed one because Firesoul was not doing it. So I wrote this plan that basically had a better version of all 3, and it was called 300 series. And later that year when we introduced it, we went from like 7 drivers in play to 50.
Oh, wow.
So we had some technology that TaylorMade had been working on, and that came into it. The drivers looked great, and they performed unbelievable, and we immediately went back to number 1. So that was cool because it sort of righted a ship that was in trouble. Let me just get this straightened up here. So that was pretty awesome. Then when I wrote that plan, one of the lines that I wrote was the reason why we needed 3 is because a given driver was only capable of producing 1 set of launch conditions. And I mean, I remember like I was writing it today, right? And the first thing that comes to my mind is, well, but what if it could have different launch conditions? And in order to do that, then you'd have to be able to move weight somehow. And the whole concept of the driver I showed you in my office of the R7 Quad was if you had enough weight left over from the design, enough discretionary weight, if you moved weight to the toe or the heel, the CG would move, right? Front to back, it would move. And when you move all those things, launch angle changes, spin rate change, it all changes. So basically, we could launch 1 club that was adjustable to replace all 3. And that was the R7 Quad. And I went to Wentworth for, we launched it in Europe at the PGA Championship at Wentworth, which was a major championship for them, right? We put 37 drivers in play the first day. Wow. It was unbelievable. And one of the great pictures, because it was AP photo, so it went everywhere, was Lee Westwood, who was a Ping guy. At the time, he had a Coca-Cola hat on, Ping on his shirt, and he's got the driver in his hand, a weight in his mouth, and the wrench moving it around, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so remember what I said? There were 27 guys under contract and only 7?
Yeah.
This, we had 20 under contract and had 60. That's when you know you got a great product, right?
Yeah,
so that changed. The first one changed the trajectory of a company.
Yeah.
The second one really changed the future of making golf clubs, right?
Okay.
And it wasn't just me. We had a great team.
Sure.
And then the final one would have been the Spider Putter, which was, especially for what we do now, that one's a pretty cool one.
Yeah, that is a pretty cool one. That one got real popular.
that one did fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so I always bring in another set of eyes. John, come on in. And he knows I have a miss with my grips. I miss them all a little bit weak.
Okay.
It seems like.
One eye is more dominant than the other?
I don't know. What looks good to me is weak to a lot of players. So John or Preston or Tony, we make sure that we get 2 sets of eyes on grips. Sure. And he's going to be, see? Mm-hmm. It's a typical. Thank you. Okay, so the grip's on nice and straight now.
Yeah.
And now we come over here and we put it in our fixture. Careful not to scratch it. Mm-hmm. And this is pretty simple, but we're going to get it to 3 degrees aloft.
Okay.
And 70 degrees aloft. It's right at 70. You got to give it a little bit of loft. This is carbon steel, so you see how easy it bends?
Yeah.
Like a set of forged irons, right?
Yeah.
So now it's exactly at 3 and 70, and we got ourselves a beautiful putter.
Beautiful putter. Yeah.
Take a peek. Just don't scratch it.
Right. Yeah, this is pretty awesome to see the whole process here. And for you, I mean, you mentioned the Spider Putter that you were a part of.
Yeah.
You eventually launched your own thing. Odyssey came along.
Yeah.
And now you're here. What was the impetus of this? Because we were talking a little bit earlier, and you said you retired, and now you're working 100 hours a week. And you're not really retired. So
No.
what brought you out? And with this, I know your sons are here. Why was this important to you?
Because they wanted it. That was when your kids say, "Hey, Dad, what do you think about starting a putter company?" I mean, that gets me emotional just thinking about it, right? So it's sort of the ultimate. And I've got a few good years left, but I'm somewhat realistic, right? So and they love all of this and push me into thinking things totally differently. So that part keeps me young and curious and wondering. And at some point, this is all theirs, and they're excited about it. So
I can feel the emotion too for
thanks.
you. It's in the putters.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's all
We
in
hope so.
there. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's all with your sons. It's
Yeah.
I'm a father myself.
Yeah.
Younger ones, but
Yeah.
I know that's
Great.
the dream, to be able to do something that you can pass on to them.
Yep.
And I think what stands out to me from being here, watching this, talking to you, is that you all care.
Yeah,
And everything that you put into this is important, right?
Yeah. Well, you can get it right or not, right? And
Yeah.
we choose to not make a lot of them, take our time designing, creating, machining, all of that stuff to make sure that when we have a finished product, we're proud of it, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully, you love it when you get it.
Yeah, a lot of people love these putters.
Thanks.
Awesome stuff here
All
at
right.
Toulon Golf with Sean Toulon. Your story,
Thanks, bud.
so incredible. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely.
it.
Yeah, thanks.